how is it living somewhere in a place where you don't speak English? So how often, like, do you feel like your language ability has improved? Like, how did you adjust? Like, how have you found it?
Well, no, my Spanish has drastically improved. I think as well because Paraguay is it's not even just like a South American country where they speak English quite a bit. In a Colombia or Mexico, you might have like people from America. Paraguay is Paraguay. Like people are not speaking English. So yeah, like from the very first from when I first arrived, all my closest friends were like Paraguayans, and it's like I have to speak with them in Spanish. There were a couple who had learned English. Like, for example, one of those mum was an English teacher in a school, and another one just learned English online, just with like movies and stuff. So I had a bit of English relief when it comes to people here, but generally speaking, it was very much in the deep end, fully immersed in it. I think it's interesting and it's strange in a way because it's just very different. Like, and even when apparently like when I speak Spanish, you have like a different personality, like because the language itself takes you to a different way of being. I don't know how, but yeah, it's been good. I think one thing, if any language students or anyone who's like constantly surrounded by another language, you get more tired like in a day because your brain's constantly trying to translate, like constantly active. So I think that tiredness got me quite a bit at the start. Now I can last and it's fine. But yeah, I think just getting used to that was a bit tricky at first.
So in Quebec they speak French, but it's still like you still be able to get around with English very well. It also depends on like what area you're in. So the area that I'm in is predominantly English speaking anyway, but when I go downtown it is a lot of French. But I think it's a bit different from Tabitha's experience because they also speak English here. I did GCSE French, which I didn't think I was ever going to use it, but it did come in handy. But if you speak like French, like France, Parisian French, it's very different from Quebecois French. And the French that I have learned is not the type of French that you don't use it in normal conversation.
Okay. Next question is homesickness. Right. I'm assuming everyone here has felt it. But yeah, is there any like specific point that where it heightened and how did you cope with it? Or if it's like a consistency for me, I feel like I didn't go back home for Christmas. Yeah, I didn't go back home. So I think that was when my homesickness heightened because studying at Manchester, it's like I'm away from my family anyway. So I didn't really feel the mad difference. Obviously, when you first land, the time zone thing is crazy. Like everyone's 5 hours ahead. You're thinking some people are calling you and you're in a lecture. Some people are calling you, you're sleeping. Like it's very weird. But I think for me, definitely Christmas. How did I cope with it? I don't even know why I asked this question because I didn't plan it myself. I think calling like friends, of course, but then also you just go, I don't have anything else. I don't know how else I coped with it. And also like spending time with people, like how I mentioned before, Najma is right next, like she's right next door. So like obviously her being from London, it's like a bit of home, like next door. So when I think I would have probably been more homesick if Najma wasn't next door. So that's me. Najma, do you want to go next?
How did I cope with it? As Christine knows, I jumped on that flight at Christmas time. I went home. I was supposed to go for 2 weeks. I was like, nah, I'm enjoying this too much. I extended my flight extra 10 days. I happily paid that extortionate price. I think for me, I felt it hard because I commuted in London, so I always lived at home. And then with the time difference, I'm sure for everyone, we're all in the same time zone, like it was just hard. And yeah, generally, if it wasn't for Christy being my flatmate, I would have died. It would not have gone well. I did not cope. I did not cope well. But after I came back from like visiting London again, like now it hasn't been that bad. I think now I know I'm coming home in like I don't know how many days it is now.
61.
So, 61. There you go. Now I know that I'm coming home. Like it feels easier, and I'm used to it now. But at the start, I was not coping.
Medina, how did you cope?
So I see, it was always in my head, like as soon as my brother left, I was like, yeah, I'm missing home a lot. But then just before like the holidays, so I wasn't planning to go back home, right? And just before the holidays, I was like, I want to be at home right now. So I booked a flight. I don't even want to say how much it was because I'm even ashamed to say I spent that much on a flight. But yeah, I booked that and then I went home. It felt a lot better because I feel like just knowing that you can touch base and like, yeah, it's a whole flight, but you can still get home like within a day, I'd say. And yeah, I just had to go home to cope with that. And then like being here, knowing that I can go home is reassuring and everything. So I just call home whenever I'm feeling a little bit. And I'm always texting my sister. She'll be sending me little TikToks and everything. And yeah, just having my family as my support system as well, really helpful.
Well, like yeah, I haven't been back to the UK since coming out at the start of October. So it has been quite a while and it has been quite the culture shock. I think as well, I've moved twice since being here. Like I said, the first part was just an Airbnb. The second part was like with this couple, like this older couple whose son had moved out and whatever. So I was in their house, and now I've like moved to like a different, like, what do you call it, department, like state? I don't know what to call it, but you know what I mean. And you know what's weird? I think because I got very, very, very comfortable in Asuncion, so that's the capital, and it was like a family for me. Like I think because I was very much in, you know, the Christian and like the church community, like it was very close. Like I was with friends all the time. We were eating together. We were going out doing things together. Had jobs. So I didn't necessarily feel it for that first period. And then I went to New York actually to go to visit like my auntie and my cousins for Christmas time. So I guess I spent Christmas with family. So that was quite nice. That was very last minute. I wasn't planning to. So I think for me, the homesickness struck when I came to the countryside, and it's like the cows are my friends and the chickens, and and it was that feeling for me that I felt like I was like, whoa. It was now I was missing two layers of people. It was like the people from Asuncion who were like my really close friends, and then also like my family and friends back in England. So that's when it kind of started to hit. I was like, ooh, and trying to sort out community in a small town in rural Paraguay is a bit tricky, but we're getting by, and it's cool. Like what's been nice is that there's just 3 other volunteers. They actually go to Durham. They're also on a year abroad, like teaching English out here as volunteers. So kind of, you know, spend time with them. I went back to Asuncion last weekend, just because again, it's like being able to touch base with people that you love and like, okay, I'm actually really close with you, and that was really lovely. Like it was really nice.
You also feel it on like special days or like Christmas, your birthday, like days when you're so used to like having family around, but just to know that they're not there, and like this is my first birthday that I'm spending without my friends or my family, and when you really just you sat there and you thought about it, I was like, wow, it's pretty sad. But I guess you get used to it. The 2 things I did was I relied on FaceTime a lot. Like I called anyone and everyone who would pick up. I called London. I called my family back in the Philippines. I would call Christophe, and like it would always be Christophe because I knew she was in the time zone. Like it was nice going to a place where you knew people. It helped because I had family here. Another big thing that helped for me, was having something to look forward to. Like being in your year abroad is something to look forward to, but when you're in here, you're here for school. So what I did, I would be begging Christophe, can we book this flight, please? Can we book this holiday? And then in your head, you're just like, okay, no, 2 more months until I go here, 3 more weeks. Okay, I got through this. So having something to look forward to, like every few months, helped a lot. Yeah.
How has it been making friends?
It's been okay, I think. It's different because we're in a new country and like some of the slang gets me sometimes. But people have been like very nice. I always get the whole, oh, where are you from? Accent, people attempting the accent. And it's not always great. But yeah, people have been great. I think it's not different to how you'd make friends at uni. Like when I was in Manchester, it's not different to how you'd be friends with people you're around, like course mates and everything. But yeah, it's just different customs, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, I think I'd say the same for me. I think everyone here knows I'm quite a big extrovert, so I like everywhere I'm going, I'm just saying hi to anyone who wants to hear my voice. Let's be friends, man. Um, I think mostly for me, I think most of the friends I found via society. So I joined the BSA, all my course classmates. I mean, the first friend I made was Najma because she lived with me. So that was very, I think even that, like living with someone that you get along with is very like, definitely count myself lucky because we actually get along and we started going out together like quite early on. And I tried Bumble, which I really wanted to say into it. I actually tried Bumble BFF, which was a weird time. I don't know why I did it, but I did it, and I made one friend off there, and I deleted the app because I said I don't want to try again. But she was very lovely. She is a very lovely person. But yeah, I feel like I tried really different ways to make friends. I think one hard thing about it is like when you're making friends via your course, I feel like because they're like on the course, it's like they're not trying to make like besties because they're just trying to get this degree, like they're just trying to get the exam. So when they're trying to talk to you, the only time really you're gonna meet that you want to meet up was to revise for the exam, yeah, to help each other for the essay, like not to like
Be
not
friends.
to just not to actually be friends. That's like course mates, that's a colleague, that's a peer, it's not really like a friend, like the way if I could just sit in, like me and Nadia were just sitting in silence, I'm not going to do that with someone that I've met there because it's like, why am I sitting in silence with you when we were talking about politics? That's weird. So I think that was kind of hard in September when it's like I had to come to the conclusion where these people actually might not want to make that deep connection with me because we're just course mates. And that kind of that kind of hurt me just a bit because I was like, damn, I need a friend because I don't know any, like I want some friends. But yeah, that was a bit of a hard thing. But yeah, that's my experience. Danielle, how's yours?
Oh my God. See, I'm actually not that like outgoing, and I don't, not even in uni back home, but I haven't had to make friends from like fresh in like a very long time. And I think because I study law, so law here is a graduate faculty, and so I've never felt so small. Like I really did feel the age difference. Some of them aren't as old, but like I've had people in their 30s and their 40s, and so kind of having to adjust myself because I can't act the way I am with around people with such a big age gap. But it's been really interesting interacting with them. Go to all the exchange events. A lot of my friends in the beginning especially were just exchange students, and you kind of all bond together through being exchange students. You share experiences, you share homesickness. I think in general there's like a stereotype that Canadians are a lot nicer. I do think they're a lot nicer, like in public, for example. They're very open to just having a conversation, and like when you're waiting in the lines. But yeah, just try to do as much as you can.
So I didn't go to any of the international events either. To be fair, I feel like they weren't that like broadcasted that well for UFC. I like Christopher, correct me. I know there were some, but I didn't think there was that many. I feel like there wasn't much done to like integrate like international students into like the uni, like no tour, no, it was just like, here you go, good, like deal with it. With my classes, no one was friendly, I'll be very honest. Like you try to talk to people and it'll just be simply like a course friend, like this is simply and strategically for work, and there's no other relation. This is for work and that's it. So like yeah, I had a friend as well who came from like my home uni at home, and she lives in the same building. Oh shit, sorry. So if it wasn't for her and Christy, I can't lie, it would have been much linear. Second semester I went to a society and I made some friends. but I'm not the most outgoing person. So like you really have to put yourself out there if you want to like make friends, and like you just need to tell yourself that it's fine if you don't make friends in your class. Like I think the UFT culture is simply like get that degree and go home. Like no one. I I don't find them that friendly. Like the uni students here, like they don't even. I'm so sorry. They don't even hold the door. They're just like closing your face. Like mimic my accent. I don't like you anymore.
You know,
a lot. But like I think for here, they try to make an effort to integrate like Canadian students and like exchange students. I have no idea why, but like I even got paired up with a buddy. So she ended up going to UOM for this semester. So she's there right now, and like made friends with her too. But
Tabitha, how's it been for you?
So obviously, like I'm not in a uni setting, so it's like, where does one find friends? Kind of question. And I can, well, for me, it was kind of different. Like I said, so I met one Paraguayan person in my uni. He had got a scholarship to study at Oxford, and he was doing his masters. So when I met him, that was really a confirmation. Okay, I'm going to Paraguay. So then he put me in contact with two of his best friends, his best friend and then another friend of his from church. So for example, his best friend picked me up from the airport when I arrived in Paraguay, and then we went to Burger King and just like he helped me with my stuff. And then he, like another person that I was introduced to, he was very intentional about it. He was like, okay, so tomorrow we're gonna meet this person, and the next day we're gonna meet this person. And he was just like the tour guide of a Ascension kind of thing, like with all the people from church and like all the young people, the youth. It's like, I think this person will get on with Tabitha. I think this person will be interested with Tabitha. I don't know, like it was really kind of like quite an amazing experience, I must say. But yeah, it was I think I was very lucky in that regard, like because it was almost like straight away thrown into a community, but then also with people who felt very like what's that word? Like responsible that I was okay, if that makes sense. Like because this is our friend's friend from the UK, so we need to look after her, like we need to love her, we need to like be there for her. And they always say, oh, what's going on? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal hoy? Like what have you done today? Let's go and eat, let's go and do something. Introducing me to people. Like I said, then I actually went to like the biggest church in South America. Like it's very big, and there's a lot of young people. So it was like there was so many people to kind of meet. And I went to like a few other things like a camp and whatever, and like met other people from like all over Paraguay and things like that. So yeah, I think yes, being a kind of a bit more extroverted helps. But again, it's that whole the way you guys have your accent. Mine is just like I'm a black girl, then I'm from London, then it's like just a lot of difference. It's like, who is this person who is here? Like, what is she doing here, kind of thing. So that was always very much something that people always very intrigued as to, okay, what are you doing here? Who are you, kind of thing. There are not black people in Paraguay.
And I think people use Snapchat a lot here.
What?
No,
It might just be Kingston, but like so many people have it.
people look down on me because
they were like, you Snapchat at your big age.
Yeah.
Here it's everyone's like, oh, what's your Snap? It's not even like Instagram or like WhatsApp or anything. It's
Instagram. Onto straight Instagram. They don't care. When people they use Snapchat, they look at you sideways like, are you still that?
And when Tabitha was talking about people like introducing her, a similar thing happened with me because like there's not a lot of black people in Kingston, like let alone Queens. So whenever they like either heard me speak or there was a black person, they'd be like, oh, there's these black parties, you should go to these, I'll send you the address and everything. And I was like, thank you very much. Sorry for this.
And so do you feel like your experience is different compared to someone who isn't an ethnic minority?
So I joined the Queens Black Fashion Association, and like because there weren't a lot of black people on campus, they kind of made that, and it was like a bunch of second years who did that, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And I think my experience definitely differed because like I'm Nigerian, and to like make Nigerian food you need certain spices and everything, and I had to bring them from home, like even the second time that I came back, because in Kingston barely anything, and like you probably have to drive to get to anywhere that you could get anything, especially with hair. there are like no hair shops here. Like I'd have to go to Toronto. So even the braids I have in now, I got them when I got back from New York, and we took like a detour into Toronto, and I was like, I'm gonna have to buy some hair now.
What's it? For me, yeah, it's Toronto. I think they had like the groceries, I think. Yeah, I feel like they did. Or like in terms of like getting hair and stuff. Anyone like I've been telling everyone, like as soon as I saw Black Gold nice hair, I was like, where'd you get your hair? As soon as I was like, where'd you get your hair? And tell me now or something else. And then give me the person's Instagram. And then if they said it was themselves, they give me your number right now and I'm gonna call you. And then I did. And that's how I feel like navigated in terms of that. Joining the BSA definitely helped. Like as soon as I landed, the next day I went to like their day like bin, like just outing. And that's where I think I met like just a lot of people, just because like just having like a space, I guess that's just yeah, just like that. It's a very, I feel like the BSA here, IoT is very active. Well, Danielle.
So I live with my grandma again, and I have family here. So in terms of food, it's not that difficult for me to access my culture's food. I do definitely feel like the minority in school though. There isn't a lot of Asians, particularly East South. It how do I the groups exist, society exists, but they don't really do much. Like I signed up to like the McGill Asian Law Society thing. Not a single email. I know there is a Filipino society, but they didn't start getting active until like the second semester, and they still don't do much. So I'm gonna be honest. I think when it came to interacting with exchange students, a lot of them came from like that part of Asia. So I guess it wasn't exactly home, but you had someone to relate to. But other than that,
So for me, for food, okay. So in the UK, they have like loads of like Eastern European or like Turkish supermarkets where you can find your own culture's food. I can't lie, the grocery stores they have like a tiny little section. It's not what you want. And because we live in downtown Toronto, we don't live in Mississauga or like Scarborough, I'd say I think more of the ethnic minorities live there. Here it's genuinely mainly just like the rich international students and the people that live in downtown that commute to the uni. For food, it's hard. Like finding halal meat here is the longest, just so long. It's just so long. Like you can go downstairs to our supermarket and they might not have what you want that day. Or like you have to do a whole Instacart order to get what you want. But even like in terms of restaurants, I know downtown Toronto, there's really not that many halal restaurants. It's really quite irritating. Like I don't want to eat vegan food, let's be for real. In terms of societies, so I'm Albanian. And so the Albanian society here, it's not really like so in first semester they did like 2 or 3 things, but like they're very like last minute, like they'll tell you like 3 days before and I can't make it, I'm sorry, I'm busy, like. And then second semester, like they just don't do a lot, like Danielle said for her Filipino society, they really don't do much, or like the organization for me is not there. And yeah, like I met some friends through that, but not that many. And then in terms of like being Muslim and in Canada, I feel like you went to Mississauga, you went to Scarborough, there'll probably be a different experience because I feel like this specific campus that we're on is mainly like East or like Southeast Asian, like international students. Yeah.
And I feel like the whole race thing is just a different concept here, first of all, which kind of has been very nice to me. I'm going to do a whole video on this, I think, like the idea of like race, but like living in a whole different country in the world, like a whole different society, whole different way of thinking. Like I said, like you don't really see many, and then people will usually guess that I'm like from Brazil or Venezuela, or like they just think, okay, you're here in Paraguay and you're like, you must be like at least Afro-Latina, like. So when it's like my parents Nigerian, but I'm from like London, they're like, oh, okay, like kind of thing. Aside from like a few, interesting comments like morenita chocolate, they will just kind of speak like that, like with some weird Uber drivers who will kind of, say things like that. I've really enjoyed it. I can't lie. It's just been very like liberating. It's like there's so many other points to connect with people on outside of race and necessarily culture. Like, obviously faith has been like the main connecting point, but that has been so deep and so like rich, that kind of connection. Then also like the culture here is very familiar, like family, very, you've got your abuela and your tia, and you got like all the different like members of the family that all just embrace you. Oh, like you can, they'll just call you like daughter, or just it's that kind of thing. So I guess that experience has been there too. Yes, like yeah, getting my hair done. I can't. That was kind of why I strategically kind of got locks and then learned how to do my locks on my own, because I knew I was going to spend like a year in a country not really being able to get my hair done. I just find oils. I was like, okay, some coconut oil, some olive oil, mix that together and put that in your hair. Like, it's been quite DIY kind of vibes. But again, that's been cool. I haven't spent much on hair in the last how many months, sorry. So that's been okay. In terms of food, I'm just gonna wait for my jollof and everything when I get back, because I was not gonna try like really to try and source like Nigerian specific products and stuff like that. And I guess, yeah, like I said, I'm here for a culture exchange, so it's like really just immersing myself in what is here for me, in terms of, okay, what is the Paraguayan, what is Latin American, South American culture, and just taking in all of that.